All right, so my name is Dave Kawula. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, everybody is not too hungover from the party last night. I know I indulged last night. I was actually pretty good. I didn't go too crazy, and I didn't end up at any weird after parties, so I actually shut her down fairly early. If you didn't see me at the party last night, I was the one with the little girl that was riding the mechanical bull about 20 or 30 times. She absolutely loved it. Absolutely. And the funny thing about that is that I have 7 kids. Yes, I'll repeat that for those of you that don't know me. I do have 7 children. I have 2 boys and 5 girls. And she is the one from sunup to sundown. It's 100% full throttle. So you can imagine Mama and I were a little tired by the time we got back to the hotel room last night after chasing her around for the entire day. And then the expo hall. Let's not even talk about the expo hall and having to go around to every single booth. We did get 3 of those passport things filled out, though. I'm normally the one that goes into the expo hall. It's like, oh, okay, there's a couple vendors. We'll do this, do that, do this, do that. No. I can tell you pretty much every single booth what their swag is because I probably have some of it sitting inside of my hotel room. So, you know what? That's right. And you know what? The stocking stuffers at Christmas time and things like that, we're set. We're absolutely set. This is my first Spice World, and you know what? I am absolutely thrilled with this conference. I speak at conferences all over the world, and this community, and I have to say this because I do a lot of work in the IT community. I run an IT community called MVP Days with my wife, Crystal, and I've never felt more at home with a group of IT pros and individuals as this one. And you know what? Even if I don't get called back to speak next year, I'm taking my $99 code and I'm going to come back next year because this has been a lot of fun. And that's everyone in this room that makes that happen. Regardless if you're sitting down at a lunch table, regardless if it's a hallway conversation, if it's a conversation at a party, it's just been so much fun and so welcoming. So thank you guys very much for that, because not all conferences are like this. I speak at the very, very big conferences, and I use the word becoming a ghost at those conferences, because if you're one of 30,000 people that are there, you hopefully can find a small community that you can hang out with. Otherwise, it can become a very lonely experience for that entire week. You're just going around and walking 4 miles between your sessions in the giant expo hall. So, up next for me, I'm going to be in Prague in a few weeks. I'm going to be going to a Veeam Symposium in Prague. Then I'm at the NetApp conference in Vegas, Microsoft Ignite in November, and then the Live 360 event in November to finish up the year. So as you can imagine, I spend a lot of time on the road. And it's my absolute pleasure to be here to talk to you guys today. What we're here to talk about this morning is Windows Admin Center, the real future of tooling and development that Microsoft has. One of the things that we have to realize is that going all the way back to the early versions of Windows NT and even inside of Windows 95 and earlier, the tooling has started with an MMC console, a Microsoft Management Console. This is what we grew up learning how to administer our servers. And so as a new feature would come out inside of Windows, we learned that a Microsoft Management Console was the UI and was the interface that we would get in there. I use the term classically trained for the last 20 years as right-click jockeys. As Windows administrators, we right-click on everything, absolutely everything. And so Microsoft goes down this road of, well, you know what? Right-click jockeys that we've taught you and we've given you courses and certifications for the last 20 years on how to just traditionally administer a Windows GUI. We don't want you to use a Windows GUI anymore. What? How am I supposed to fix things? Well, that's going to become a little problematic. And Microsoft coming with the concept of server core. Yeah? How many in this room use server core today? Just turn around and look to see how many hands went up in this room. I would say probably less than 5 to 10% using server core. What's the barrier to using server core for us as IT pros? A UI. So what's the answer from Microsoft? Don't worry, you can still run server core, and if you're not comfortable doing everything in a shell, we're going to build a GUI for you. And that new GUI is Windows Admin Center. All right? So that's one very good reason. The second very good reason to download and use Windows Admin Center is that is where 100% of Microsoft's investment in future tooling is going. If you think that they're going to spend money on those traditional MMC consoles, you're wrong. The investments are going into Windows Admin Center. What drives Windows Admin Center? Does anybody in here use PowerShell? Lots of hands should go up, I hope. Okay? Windows Admin Center is driven by PowerShell and WinRM, or Windows Remote Management. And some WMI where they can't fit in some of the PowerShell calls that they're trying to do. And so when we look at that, that's going to be an important learning discovery for us as we go through and start learning the tools. And just so those of you that just came into the session a little bit late here and wondering why I actually don't have a PowerPoint up yet, we're actually having some technical issues with the presentation, right, or with the HDMI cable. So they're running and getting me a new HDMI cable. So now you get to see how good my memory actually is, because we'll go through and I'll go through most of the presentation here for you. So it's important because with Admin Center, we've got our new front end for all of our tooling, right? The other big reason, the technical reason why Windows Admin Center is important for you as IT pros and administrators is, have any of you ever tried to lock down your remote management tools through a Microsoft Management Console? How many ports do you think you have to open up for those tools? And how secure do you think they actually are? Do you think it's more than one port? Or do you think it's a lot of ports? And how hard is it to actually get working properly? It's very difficult, isn't it? So you're trying to lock things down in your environment. Now you have to go figure out exactly how each of those MMCs are going to communicate. Not only that, if you look at the UI behind the Microsoft Management Console, it's like an early version. You can think of like IE1 that drives that in behind that. Not very secure. So when we take and we use Windows Admin Center, it's pure PowerShell and Windows WinRM calls across to manage those machines in our infrastructure. What can you manage with it? Well, you can manage all your Windows Server farms. I think you go back all the way as far as 2008 R2 that you can add inside of there. But you just have to load the WMF5, the Windows Management Framework 5 installer on those older servers. So if you do want to manage older servers with Windows Admin Center, you need to install that, and it does require reboot, I'm sorry, but after that you can actually load them into the UI and console. The other really cool thing is I'm just going to get a show of hands. How many of you have actually downloaded Admin Center in here so far? Oh, I see a lot of hands that haven't gone up yet. You're going to download it today. Why? Because you can install it on your laptop. Yes, you can actually run Windows Admin Center right off of your laptop, and you can use it as your remote tools to get in and manage and access your servers. You don't need to install this on a server itself. So you can install Windows Admin Center right on your laptop locally and use it as your own source set of tooling. Did you guys know that you could do that? And it works fairly well. I like it because it means that I don't have to take and load up a whole bunch of remote server administration tools anymore to manage my servers. Extensions and capabilities that we have. How about a new HTML5 UI to replace Active Directory users and computers? DNS, DHCP. All of these extensions are being developed today. Is my cable up there? Yeah, it's okay. We can just go like this. So all of those extensions are being developed by Microsoft today in an HTML5 browser version for you. And that's cool because now we have a modern UI that we can use to manage this. Extensions and capabilities as well. For example, one of my favorite features of Admin Center, because I use Admin Center on a day-to-day basis, I've forced myself to use it for managing all my production infrastructure, not just the great reporting and UI and things like that that I get out of it, but little things like on the main dashboard, it'll go and discover my ILO IP address or my DRAC IP address or my IPMI IP address, my BMC, out-of-band management. You know your out-of-band management you use to manage your server? You know the IPs that we forget and then we have to go hunt and figure out where they are? It'll actually advertise itself right in the main dashboard. Extensions from those hardware vendors as well can be discovered. So for example, HP, Dell, Lenovo, DataOn, all your hardware vendors are all building extensions for Windows Admin Center. So all of that tooling is actually included inside of this HTML5 UI. Oh yeah. Hello. I don't know. I was thinking I was doing a pretty good job going from memory so far. Apparently, I've made it worse. So does that sound good? Like from an actual interfacing perspective, we've got vendors that are buying into this. We've got Microsoft that is 100% bought into this. From a tools perspective, I always like little statistics. And of any tool ever released ever by Microsoft, Windows Admin Center is 100% the #1 downloaded and used tool to date ever in Microsoft history. Millions of servers are managed by Windows Admin Center today. So this is not something that you have to wait for. It's GA and it's available and it's ready for you guys to use today. I love to use one word in my presentation, and whenever I show you something like this, you guys can all go ahead and just scream out this same word because I love it in my presentations, and it's free. I love free because I feel that Microsoft dings us enough for licensing as it is, so thank you very much to give me something that's absolutely free. Ish. It's a gateway for Microsoft. So Admin Center allows Microsoft to very easily help IT pros extend their data centers up to the cloud by taking and giving hybrid options inside there. You guys heard the word hybrid cloud. I want some stuff in the cloud. I want some stuff on-prem. Okay, Microsoft's not dumb. They've given you a really cool HTML5 UI for free. You can manage all your servers. You can do all of this stuff. And if you want to use these really cool Azure features, they have one-button clicks to set these things up. Or you want Azure Backup to back up all of your virtual machines and all of your physical servers? No problem. Just hit the button that says Set Up Now. Connect it to your tenant. Oh, that's not going to be free because there's going to be a billing charge that's going to incur once that actually kicks in. Windows Admin Center is still free, though. Don't worry about that. Still free, still free. You want to use Azure Site Recovery? You don't want to go through 30 pages of configuration to get it all set up? Don't worry, just click the one button. It'll set it up in a few clicks for you. Does it work? Yeah, absolutely, it works. I've set it up. I use it in production. Yeah, you're gonna get charged your $30 per server per month to use it. That's the cost of doing it, retail price. But Windows Admin Center is still free. Now, the good news is they actually did give us one cloud thing that is actually free. And the cloud thing that is actually free is Azure Updates. So do you guys use WSUS today? Who uses WSUS today to manage all their servers? Who has to set up custom patch groups with WSUS and try to PowerShell it and try to manage the multiple reboots and try to do all the things that we need to do as Windows admins? Who logs in late at night and clicks reboot and update and reboot and update and reboot and update? Thank you very much, Microsoft, for your August CU that required like four reboots. I love that one personally. Azure Updates as a cloud hybrid connectivity through Windows Admin Center is free. They actually did give us something for free. They allowed us to update our servers for free. So Azure Updates integrated with Windows Admin Center is free for us. So as I say, it's free-ish, because what Microsoft wants to do in their new cloud-facing strategy that they have everything cloud. Look at the new strategy that they have. Have you guys checked the stock prices for Microsoft going like this? It's not Server 2019 that's doing that. I hate to break that to you. It's a small portion of, but it's the cloud business. So if they can take and if they can realize revenue from each and every one of your on-prem servers by you getting a little taste of the cloud hybrid-wise, that's the hybrid piece for them. That's the play, right? Because now they can actually track that no differently than what they would a cloud server. How we doing, guys?
You have this on a USB drive?
I can.
That might be
I have another laptop too. Okay. Crystal, can you come help me just get up my other laptop set up while I keep going here? Come on, Michaela. You're going to learn how to troubleshoot. Here, just plug that in and sign that in for me. And then we'll download my PowerPoint. Yeah, and when you guys do the evals, you say that we rocked Windows Admin Center. PowerPoints, I'm going to tell you right now, in this session, you're not going to be PowerPointed to death. I have fixed that problem. That's right. This would be better if I had a beer right now. So let's start it. Let's start a discussion, a frank discussion around that, around Admin Center and the new tooling that's coming from this. Is this something that you guys think is a long time overdue from Microsoft? Yes, sir. You have a question. What a fantastic question. And we are recording this right now. So if our friends from Spiceworks are in here, what I'll do is I'll actually just do a post-recording of this. So we actually have some slides that are embedded inside of here. And for you guys, if you want to watch the session afterwards, I'll just re-record this. But your question was, has everything RSAT been ported over to Windows Admin Center? The answer is absolutely not. I'm your friend here.
You asked.
Oh, what's that? Oh. Yes, this is great. Thanks. You do not get that at Ignite. Absolutely not. I'm going to save that. Thank you very much for whoever brought that. No, you do not get that at Ignite. Okay. Nobody in the room. Okay, it's kind of being recorded, so I do have to be careful. Me as the IT pro, sitting in your chair right now listening to this presentation, I try my absolute hardest to use Windows Admin Center to replace all of the things that I traditionally do in my day-to-day job. And right now, Admin Center is an augmentation tool for me only. Okay, does that make sense? It is not the absolute replacement of everything that you do from a day-to-day basis. It's a great front-end UI. The dashboards look really good inside of there. But where the train comes off the tracks for us is when we have problems. So for example, I do a ton of work with Microsoft's hyper-converged infrastructure. They call it Storage Spaces Direct. If something breaks in Storage Spaces Direct, Microsoft has started to give me some tooling to represent that something is breaking inside of Admin Center, but it's not enough. I'm still finding myself going back into PowerShell. I'm still finding myself going back into Failover Manager, traditional MMC consoles. So what I'll say is that for me, as an IT pro right now, Admin Center is a level 1 tool for me. It's a great interface to just get started. It's also going to be a really good interface tool for me when I have to delegate things to my help desk users, because I can work to build role-based administration through just enough administration access. Even that piece is still a work in progress, but it's a front-end, frontline tool. Where I really do love it is the extensions that Microsoft is building into the tool. They come on almost a monthly basis. For example, the latest one that I saw was packet capturing on your servers, built right in. The other one I love is a PowerShell interface built right into the UI. So if I just need to pop into PowerShell on that server, I can do it right there. If I need to RDP into the server, it's there. If I need to manage the firewall, it's there. Does anybody in here use Hyper-V? Do we have any Hyper-V friends in the room? That's good. Funny story. I've been doing Hyper-V since Hyper-V wasn't cool. And I would ask that question in 2008, and I would have one person put up their hand like this. So we've been looking for a replacement for Hyper-V Manager for like the last 12 years. Oh. Yay! Yes, it was the beer. Okay. Thank you guys very much for my tech crew for helping me out with that. Guys, hey, can I get a round of applause from the tech crew? It's absolutely not easy to be put on the spot like that. I know I've been there. Everybody else has been there. So thank you for bearing with me with that. And I have a gift for you. I had this all set up and ready to go. I've actually authored a few books on Server 2019. There's the third one that we've written this year already, which is actually migrating and upgrading your roles from Server 20 to Server 2019. Our latest book is on Defender Advanced Threat Protection. If you guys take a picture of that URL, that coupon is actually good until, I think I set it up, it's good. It's going to be good until Thursday. It gives you all 3 books for free. Now, I just want to back up one sec because we're in a group of community here, and I know that we're changing things up just because my PowerPoint deck came up, but this is really important to me. If anybody bought our books, 100% of the proceeds actually goes to a scholarship fund that we've started. And Crystal and I are so pleased. My wife Crystal's in the front row here. She helps me run MVP Days. Our MVP Days scholarship fund just gave away our first $10,000 scholarship from our book proceeds to a young individual. He's going to university this year. He finished number 2 in biology in the entire country of Canada. And the school that he chose actually didn't give him a full ride. They gave him a partial ride. So it's to augment that for him. So he's got 4 years at $2,500 each. And it's from all my friends in the community that have supported that. These are 100% free. I'm not saying that there's any pressure to click the slider and pay for that stuff. This is just for you guys, okay? The other thing is that all of my books that I've written up there on LeanPub, what you'll find is that these are almost all step-by-step guides. Why? when I do a project, I need to have something called a method of procedure. Do you guys know what that is? Do you guys understand what a method of procedure is? You need to typically put that into your change control documentation saying step, 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 something's going to happen, and if it breaks, here's the rollback plan. I've had tons of these sitting in my archive for years that we've used for all types of migrations. And over the course of the past 3 to 4 years, we've decided to completely unlock our intellectual property in our library and be 100% transparent with the community. It's our free gift for you guys. I felt that, you know, if somebody acquires knowledge and they die with that knowledge and the knowledge dies with them, that's absolutely pointless. So we basically have 100% royalty free if we make something and we can help you guys out in the IT community and you can figure out one of your projects. That's why we do that. All right? So that's your guys' gift. Just something for us to be able to give back to you. All right, so let's go here. Here's the next spot that you have to go. Let's see if I can pull this up. Please don't wreck my resolution. Is it flashing now or is it good? Awesome. Good. I have no idea how much time I have left. Okay, I have like half an hour left. We got to stuff in all the good stuff. Okay, so Windows Admin Center download. There's 2 versions of the Windows Admin Center download for you. The 2 versions of the Windows Admin Center download are a GA build, which is fully baked. That's you can use in production. And the second one is an insider's build. You get a new release every single month. So if you want to have a dev lab where you stay on top of all those new features like the packet capture and those new ones that are just being released, go grab the insider's build. It's like grabbing the insider's build of Windows Server. It kind of drops at the same time. If you want the GA build that kind of ships along with the versions of Windows Server every 6 months, this one here is going to be there for you. All right? So that's very important. If you don't remember where to get this and you forget this URL, open up Google or ask Siri, where do I download Windows Admin Center? And she'll tell you. Okay, so this was our life before Windows Admin Center. And you guys can agree with me if it looks something like this. By the way, I'm that guy that always forgets to log off the servers, and I leave that behind. So if you ever see one of my servers in your environment, and it looks like this when you log in, you have to click close about 1 million times on all the windows, I'm that guy, all right? I'm just stress testing the server to make sure that it's running okay. So that would be like your admin experience inside of 2016, 2019, so on. Server core, this is what server core administration would look like. You just basically get a console. And then for Windows 10, so if you're trying to administer Windows 10 clients, it looks pretty much exactly the same thing as Windows servers. Yes? Can you guys agree with that? This is our life. Even if you don't know that you're in an MMC console, you're in an MMC console somewhere in Windows. They're still there. They haven't been removed. So even although I say there's no development dollars left that go into this, you still put it into my OS. Disk Manager is still there. It looks exactly the same. Computer management looks exactly the same in Server 2019. Nothing's really changed there. So even although I'm not maybe getting new development, good news is for us, all those old things you used to know how to do, they still work. So nothing changes there. We just have a new tool to put in the front end for you. All right, so a new simplified management experience is really the goal. This is what Windows Admin Center looks like. So for those of you that didn't put up your hands and haven't seen Windows Admin Center, it is an HTML5 replacement for what you would traditionally know as like Server Manager. Server Manager was like the baby brother to Windows Admin Center. Okay? It's pretty cool. It's got a nice UI inside of it. We can do a lot of things in here. Now, these are really important. There's a voting system that Microsoft has for like the voice or whatever that you can take and that you can vote for features and things like that for as the community say, listen, we really want this new PowerShell function to work better inside of Windows Admin Center, or we really want this extension. So if you want something inside of the UI specifically for this, along with other tools that Microsoft makes, you need to vote. If you don't vote, it won't happen, all right? Microsoft looks at those votes. They look at that, how many people are requesting those features. And when they go for their daily scrums and they say, whoa, 10,000 people are hitting us up for this particular feature, let's bump that up on the list. At the end of the PowerPoint deck, I'll actually show you a screenshot of what that looks like from inside the list of what they work from a development perspective. From the community input, when they were developing Windows Admin Center, the big things they saw was that PowerShell itself isn't sufficient enough. They need to bring back a UI. They've been trying to pitch Server Core for, I don't know how many years. How many years have you guys listened to the Microsoft presentations where Core is the future, use Windows Core, the GUI's going away, the GUI's not going away, the GUI's going away. Good news for you guys, the GUI's not going away, because I'm a GUI administrator, and I screamed, I'm like, don't take my GUI away. I need that. And I'll give you a good example. Has anybody ever tried to fix a driver in Server Core before? How much fun was that? Yeah. Enabling and disabling NICs. It's not easy. It's not terribly straightforward. So having the capability to do this stuff in a UI is good. And by the way, you can update drivers in Admin Center. So, hey, they listen to us there. All right. Architectures. Do you guys want to see what the architecture looks like a little bit for this? Windows Admin Center is basically going to run on a server. It's going to run on your desktop, Windows 10 desktop. It just needs a platform to run the MSI. It's going to load up a website. That website is going to take and is going to drive Admin Center for you. Now, the good news is towards the end of the session, do you guys like PowerShell automation for installing things? I'll show you a link where I've got a lab that will actually give you the snip of PowerShell code to automate the install and also build this in an enterprise configuration. Does anybody using right now Windows Admin Center in a highly available configuration where we have multiple Admin Center servers to make sure that, if we reboot one, it's still available to the rest of the business? It's a trickier configuration because I have to worry about some load balancers. I have to worry about make sure my certificates are set up properly. The good news is I'll show you all the documentation for a highly available config. And then the regular config, I decided to do something for us here today that I thought was pretty cool. I downloaded Windows Admin Center. I don't have it running on my Windows 10 machine. And we're going to take a little guess as to how long this actually takes to install. Does that sound good? Why not? Right? I say it works on Windows 10. It better work on Windows 10. So from an architecture perspective, I just need something that's on net that can communicate with the resources that I'm trying to attach to it. I need something that is inside of your infrastructure that can talk PowerShell or WinRM to your servers or your desktops so that I can manage them. So think of this as just being installed on one of your management servers. Does that make sense? Do you guys have that concept of a management server in your infrastructure where you have some tools? You might use something like SolarWinds, or you might use something like WhatsApp. So many tools that are out there. This is just another one that's out there. From a client browser perspective, you can access Windows Admin Center from Edge. You can access Windows Admin Center from Chrome. You can access Windows Admin Center from Firefox. So browser kind of independence. It's a little tricky on my Windows servers where they removed Edge because now I have to install Chrome or Firefox in my lab to actually hit localhost and do stuff in there because it doesn't work on IE. All right? So that was a little interesting because sometimes when I build something on a server, I just want a local host and make sure it's working. You got to hop in from another box or load up another browser on there. So we have the concept of a client browser. That would be your end workstation just attaching to the website. The Windows Admin Center acts as a gateway. The reason it's called a gateway is because we can create a connector in there to your Microsoft Azure tenant from that Windows Admin Center server. And so that Windows Admin Center server can then attach to your tenant, and that's how we can get our hybrid connectivity options. So all of the instruction sets that are coming back from Azure would funnel through this Windows Admin Center server. And then the managed nodes, your managed nodes that are out there are just going to be controlled with PowerShell or WinRM. Your deployment options, you can put it on a Windows 10 PC, which I'll show you how to do here today. You can put it on a dedicated gateway server. Gateway server to me is a management server. So this is just going to go on a management server. It just needs to have internet connectivity, because if you want this thing to be able to go reach out and talk to Azure, you need to make sure that it's got availability to do it. Or you can just install it on one of your servers inside of your farm. I don't really recommend this one. I typically want management tools on management servers. That's just my practice that I have. So every time I've really deployed this for a server farm and to manage that, I normally have a dedicated VM that I just put it on. I have a Windows Admin Center VM, and then you can also do a highly available configuration as well. All right, accessing from anywhere. Everything's when you connect into Windows Admin Center, it's just an SSL connection, so you don't have to worry about opening up additional ports. So however you connect, if you're connecting from the outside in, if you're connecting just on the inside of your infrastructure, it's just a plain old SSL connection. I would really recommend not opening this up to the world. I used basically just enough access security concept, where if I'm on the road and I want to access one of my Windows Admin Center machines, I'll just open up the firewall to just that external IP address of my machine coming in from that source, because I don't want to just publish an endpoint to access all of my infrastructure out to the internet. So be careful publishing that. So just don't create a NAT rule that's going to be 443 down and leave it as an open any rule from the internet. From an authentication perspective, you can use local authentication, you can use AD authentication, and you can use Azure AD integrated authentication as well. Okay, it supports Windows Server 2016 plus, and this is what the framework looks like from Microsoft's perspective. So it kind of breaks down into 5 buckets for you. Number 1, Windows Admin Center breaks down into a bucket for UI and user experience, or UX. So they have a development team that focuses on the UX, just kind of showing, building that rich, usable experience. Number 2 is a general feature set, which we call core functionality, which would be all of the traditional things that you would see in, for example, computer management. So in computer management, what are some of the things we see in computer management? We can add local users and groups. We can get into disk management. We can manage, if we loaded up a certificate console, we could load up certificates. But the core functionality that you would use is all of the stock stuff. That would be available for like every machine, is core. It's not Windows core, but it's the core functionality. Then what we have is what are called hero scenarios. Hero scenarios are going to be things for Azure Stack HCI. So for example, if you have a hyper-converged Microsoft infrastructure, they've built a separate UI to manage that. So that's the management interface that Microsoft has for the new failover clustering and what Storage Spaces Direct, what they call Azure Stack HCI. So it's a separate UI. It's not in the main core functionality. I'll show you that once we see the UI. And then the last one is the ecosystem. There's a fully published SDK. So if you want to build your own options inside of Windows Admin Center, so if you want to build a set of custom tools for your infrastructure, you can follow the SDK and you can actually publish those yourself. So if you're a PowerShell tool maker, if you've got a bunch of custom things that you do in your infrastructure, you can actually include those now inside of Windows Admin Center and publish those out to the rest of your users via the SDK. Who else is using the SDK? All the vendors are using the SDKs. So like I said earlier, Dell, Lenovo, HP, all of the big hardware vendors are bought into this. So any of your DRAC, ILO, BMC, IPMI connections are all going to be in there as separate blades on the left-hand side. Okay? And those are what we call extensions. So core is just the feature set. Hero capabilities are just a separate part of the UI, which I'll show you. And then the extensions. And I'm going to show you all 3. Does that sound good? Do you guys want to see what kind of all 3 of those would look like? Okay. Okay, so first of all, we'll start off with the core functionality. So inside of Windows Admin Center, number 1, the first thing that you get inside of Windows Admin Center is an overview pane. This would be what you guys would know as Task Manager. So this is an HTML5 version of Task Manager where I can see CPU, memory pressure, I can see NICs, I can see just the general information that we want to look at. I find this very cool because if do you guys have a network operations center that you build in your organization, some monitors on the wall, and you want to display some graphs and things like that? I actually use this as a poor man's way to build some graphs of my core critical servers and infrastructure. I just leave that page running, and I just pop it up on those monitors because it has some cool graphs. And it shows me what I want because I can actually see if there's good memory pressure and stuff inside of there. The thing that this is missing is that if I trip an alert or something like that, it's just a view only right now, but it's still a good way to just look at it. Some of the extension capabilities, the second option inside of here, Azure Backup. Has anybody tried using Azure Backup? I have a couple hands. Azure Backup's Microsoft's backup tools. So you can back up on-prem. You can take and back up cloud. So if you have Azure-based virtual machines that you're running, and there's a backup your VM button, you're using Azure Backup today. You might not know that you are, but you are. And so this has an integration piece. So in order to get this set up, there was a little setup button at the very top. It said Set up Azure Backup, and it would have actually connected into my tenants. So that hybrid piece, remember the not-so-free part of Windows Admin Center? This is one of those not-so-free parts. The difference is, though, is to get Azure Backup set up, traditionally, I would probably have about 3 pages of configuration per server that I'd have to go through to set up. It's a one-button click inside of Windows Admin Center. Okay? Okay, the next one, certificate management. Who's had fun with certificates on your servers? Yay. Okay, there's actually a pretty cool view inside of here. Where is it? It's like expired and nearly expired. Oh, thank you very much, Microsoft. You finally listened. I will go into the nearly expired, and I will see this. Now I just need to take and be able to write some reports on that to see, what's actually going to be expiring. But from a UI, right-click administrator's perspective, that's a pretty cool one for me. Device management. We burned a bit of time at the beginning, so I'm just going to breeze through a few of these. You guys get the general idea just so that you can see what the UI actually looks like. So we got full device management, event viewer capabilities. You can do file management inside of here. Firewall management. You can manage all your firewall rules on these machines. I'm not sure if you do this via group policy or not, but if you weren't doing it through group policy and locally on them, if you're just having to get in, you can do it that way. We can now see installed applications, add local users and groups inside of here. Network connections are actually a really cool one because the network connections would be what you guys would know as the network control panel. So for me, it's ncpa.cpl. Is that how you guys get into the network control panel? Okay, if you didn't know that, just search on any Windows server for star.cpl and you'll see all the control panel applets, and it's a vast way to get in there. I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and I go into customer sites and I see them clicking through the start menu to try to get into the network control panel. I'm like, no, please don't do that. That's a big pet peeve for Dave. Please don't do that. Please, you can do many things. Please don't search for remote desktop, and please don't search for the network control panel. I'd really prefer if you didn't do that. MSTSC and NCPA is where you want to be. All right? Okay, so the cool part about this is that let's say that this particular server that we're attached to here, 192.168.100.1, we want to get some Azure connectivity into this. There's a button at the very top that says add a private network adapter, which is a demand dial VPN connection into your Azure tenant. So you can just actually click that and you can set up a connection directly into your Azure tenant without having to create a site-to-site VPN. So I don't actually have to go through that process. So if I just want to push some data up to my Azure tenant, that's another extension capability that you have up there. That one's also free-ish. Okay, PowerShell capabilities. Oh, I think I'm going to actually show the Azure Network Adapter. So this is kind of cool. So let's just say I clicked on the Azure Network Adapter. I would choose my my subscription. I would choose my region, and I would choose my network, gateway subnet, and the current SKU for the gateways. So the SKUs for the gateway in Azure is how much data you can push through, and it's also how much they'll charge you for those as well. So it's, once again, like I said, free-ish for what you're going to push up there. I would click create, and then I'd be able to get through. So just within a few clicks, I'm ready to go, and I'm connected to my Azure tenant with that. Full PowerShell capabilities, so this is pretty cool. So I can get into PowerShell on that machine, check the processes, registry, do remote desktop, roles feature, scheduled tasks. services, storage migration services. If you guys haven't looked at this, this is pretty cool. You want to migrate your file servers, and you want a UI way to migrate your file servers. You can do all of this via PowerShell or through Windows Admin Center. I can target the old server that we've got, and I can actually synchronize those files. So to me, this is kind of the death of Robocopy syncing my servers. How many of you use Robocopy to migrate your file servers? Yeah, I still use Robocopy too. I can't lie to you guys. It's a feature, but I still do it the old-fashioned way too. But the storage migration service is a little bit more of an eloquent way of doing this. So instead of you having to follow a full method or procedure, writing your scripts, synchronizing your file server, cutting over your file server, stealing the name, dealing with all of that extra stuff, the storage migration service actually has a full cut-over capability. So there's a sync part of it. So I can sync my old server, I can sync it to my target server, and then I can hit the cut-over button. And when I hit the cut-over button, it'll actually steal the name and turn off the old server. So that's kind of cool. Yes? No, it's not. Storage migration service is its own protocols underneath. Yeah, it is definitely not DFS. So I'm just going to repeat the questions if you guys have them. And the question was that using DFS? And it's not. So storage migration service is its own role now inside of Windows Server 2019. There was another question at the back over here. No? Okay. It's okay. I don't bite. So this is really cool. So I know I only have an hour with you, but if you're going to check out something, you should check this out. This is kind of a cool feature. This is what the UI looks like. So remember I said you inventory a server, data transfer, and then cut over. So they made this very, very simple. Okay, Windows Update capabilities. Windows Update capabilities is an interesting one for me because you can do generic Windows updates. This would be equivalent of you saying start check Windows Update on any of your devices, and then having it go download those updates and install. When you integrate this, at the very top up here beside the Windows Update button, there's an integrate with Azure Updates. That's that free portion. I highly recommend checking that out. That's a good one. System Insights, a brand new feature. This one here is actually only available with Server 2019. How about some predictive forecasting for when your server is going to run out of CPU? How about some predictive forecasting for when your server is going to run out of memory or disk? System Insights actually keeps track of this and will keep a historical record for you, and will actually do some predictive analysis inside of there. And that's a brand new feature inside of Server 2019. Sorry, they didn't backport this. But inside of Server 2019, it's actually just a feature that you would install. So when you click the button in Windows Admin Center on one of your Server 2019 machines and you enable this, it actually just goes and enables the feature for you. So that's the other thing that Admin Center does behind the scenes, is it'll actually go turn features on that are required. As it goes through, you don't even have to jump through Server Manager or add roles or go through PowerShell anymore. Cool. I like that one. Here's your new view for Hyper-V. So remember how I told you have a new view for Hyper-V? So I've got about 13 minutes left. I don't think, are there any sessions after mine? Is there? Okay. Okay. I'm doing my best. Okay, so virtual machines. So in the virtual machines view, this is our new view for Hyper-V Manager. So it's got a nice little UI, and this will roll up against all of my VMs. It also has a clustered view, so if you have a clustered Hyper-V instance, even if it's connected to a different storage platform other than Microsoft, you still get a view similar to this. This is what your VM management looks like. So you can actually see all the VMs running. I can see memory pressure, all nice HTML5. You notice the button on the top, it says Set up Azure Site Recovery. So remember I said that they're going to hook you with all these hybrid scenarios. This is another one. The good news for you is in that group of books that you're going to download for free, I've got a Protecting Your Infrastructure Surviving a Ransomware Attack using Azure Site Recovery. I actually have a scenario in there where I walk through the setup of all of this for you. So you don't have to worry about remembering all the little things that I'm telling you. I've got in the middle of that book step-by-step guidance of the full setup of Admin Center, and you can set up some of these hybrid scenarios as well. Okay, cool. Okay, I can see my NICs. This would be an example of a Storage Spaces Direct cluster. So I can see my cluster disks inside of there, my networks, my virtual machines inside of there. And let's actually just jump into this. I have to skip over some of this. I talked about Azure Updates. site recovery, backups, and more. We did all of that. This is what the virtual machine view is going to look like for VM protection. So if I did want to protect one of these VMs, remember I said it was only like one button click. So let's say I wanted to use Azure Site Recovery. And if you don't know what Azure Site Recovery is, everyone, it's Microsoft bought a company called InMoj many years ago for their DR play. This is Microsoft's DR play. So if I want to get workloads from on-prem in whatever way, shape, or form they are, if they're on VMware, if they're physical, if they're virtual in Hyper-V, and I want to get them synchronizing up to Azure or even to another data center, that's what Azure Site Recovery is for you. It's the orchestration tool. It's the DR tool for Microsoft. So if I wanted to configure that manually, I'm probably 4 pages per VM. It's a lot of steps to actually get this configured. Once set up with Windows Admin Center, this really solidifies my point of making it easy for us as administrators, because inside of this UI, I just hit the More button and I say Protect VM, and everything else runs behind the scenes. So it's already synced up to my tenant. I've already got Site Recovery Vault. I've already got my storage set up in Azure. I've already got the backend pieces ready to go. So basically, as I want to enable protection inside of Azure, I just go through and I click VM by VM by VM going through here. One button click and you're protected. Is it really that simple though? No, don't worry. This is not turning us into one button click IT pros. There are still logs, there is still troubleshooting. It doesn't cover all the scenarios. When it breaks, we still have to fix it. Don't worry about that. It just gives me an easy way to set it up, okay? Please do not worry about your jobs, because this might actually create more work for us afterwards. I'm just like you. I look at this for what it is. It helped me set it up, yes, but I still need to be an operator. This does not take away the operator role and requirement from our day-to-day jobs. We're still needed. Don't worry. Trust me, I've tried, and I can't obsolete myself, so I can't retire and go away yet. All right, so we set that up, just attached to the tenant. Good to go. Protecting the machine, blah, 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 and then it'll say replicating. If you guys have ever used, anybody use Hyper-V Replica in here? So those of you that use Hyper-V Replica, it uses a similar type engine to Hyper-V Replica. It just says replicating to Azure instead of replicating to another Hyper-V VM. And if you wanted to check this in PowerShell, it's just get VM replication, and you can see all the statistics for this after the fact. So if you learn Hyper-V replication, then you've kind of already learned some of how this works. Cool? All right. Now, this one here is, I had a little section on storage spaces direct. I don't know if I've got enough time to go through all of this and do it justice. 9 minutes. Okay. How am I doing so far? Is everybody following so far? Okay. This presentation wasn't without its challenges. And the beer's looking really good right now. I'm going to need more of these later. All right. Okay. So traditional infrastructure, you would see as 3 tiers inside of your racks. You would see switches, you would see storage, and you'd see compute. Those are the 3 things you would typically see inside of every rack in every data center, everywhere I've ever been in the world. Yes? Can you guys agree with that? Switches, servers, storage, right? Hyper-converged infrastructure squishes that down. Servers and storage are on one chassis. So if you take a traditional HP DL380, a Dell 730XD, the 2U servers that we would see in our data centers, load up all the drives in the front with either solid-state drives or spinning disks or a combination thereof. Then I use the magic of software to turn those into software-defined storage. I can cluster them. Does that make sense? So I allow Microsoft to do that, or Nutanix does something very similar. If you're a VMware guy, this would be like vSAN. So for VMware folks that are in the room here, this is like Microsoft's version of vSAN. We call it Azure Stack HCI, and in the UI, we call it Storage Spaces Direct. They've just recently rebranded it. At the end of the day, it's all hyper-converged infrastructure. They all work the same way. One of the things that was missing, though, in Server 2016 when this first launched, was a UI. 100% of the management of Storage Spaces Direct, creating volumes, checking storage jobs, doing all the things that we need to do as a storage administrator, was done through PowerShell. There was no good UI that we could hit, even through the MMC consoles. 99.95% of things that you had to do with this were done through PowerShell. That was a barrier for Microsoft to be able to get this in the market. Vendors like Nutanix had a really good HTML5 UI for managing their hyper-converged infrastructure. So what Microsoft did is they put an add-on into Windows Admin Center. And instead of having to use PowerShell, now we've got an HTML5 view of the entire cluster. So I can see total storage space used, I can see IOPS, I can see all of the things that I need to have as a storage administrator inside of a graphical UI. If I want to turn on deduplication, if I want to expand a volume, if I want to create a volume, all of those administrative things that we do as SAN administrators now, from a hyper-converged perspective, you really don't need to know a lot of those commands that we would have to have before. I still recommend when you learn this, you learn both ways, but this is a good GUI version of that.
Adding nodes.
You can add nodes in here too, yes, absolutely, yeah. So I can see that I've got some IOPS. I just took a screenshot of just a cluster that was running. It's just 16 IOPS, I thought it was funny. I'm really pushing my lab. Mr. Boss, 16 IOPS is really bad. Can I please have some persistent memory? We're going to make this run really fast. Hopefully he doesn't know what an IOP is. My latency is looking good, though. Anyways, if you don't know some of the statistics around storage spaces direct, though, they're pushing like 13 million IOPS now on an all-flash configuration with Optane memory from Intel and 12 nodes out of 16. So the thing performs. They're getting like 6-7 gigs a second throughput through it as well. So it performs very well. All right, so drive views. So I can see all my drives in there, 32 drives. I can see all my space being used. Here's a good view of my IOPS latency throughput. I can see all my servers inside of there. I can also see some alerting on my servers. I can see that if servers are going down. So I get the UI and a visibility inside of here because none of this was visible and was exposed before Windows Admin Center. And this works for Windows Server 2016, and this works for Windows Server 2019 because Storage Spaces Direct was first available in 2016 and is now just refined for 2019. So got a couple generations of this being available. 2 to 16 nodes. There's another view of some IOPS and some latency throughput. Configure cluster aware updating. Okay. I'm going to see here what we want to finish up with. I'm going to make the slide deck available for everyone. And the other thing that I'm going to do, just because of the logistics issue that we had, does this sound like a good plan? I'll talk to Dana and I'll talk to the Spiceworks folks. And what I'll do is I'll re-record the session in its entirety. And when I do that, I'll go through the full deck just to let you guys have it all. Does that sound like a fair? Let's see here. I'm just going to see if there's a couple more things I wanted to show you here. Oh, the extensions. You guys want to see what the extensions look like? Okay, so here's what some of the vendor extensions look like. So for example, inside of Windows Admin Center, and really there's not very many options in there. Those of you that have used Windows Admin Center, there's not a lot of things you can actually click through there and set up. So you just click on the settings wheel inside of there. Inside of the settings wheel inside of there, there's an extensions option, and this is where you're going to get all of the different new extensions as they're published. They're published via what are called feeds. Microsoft has their own feed inside of there. So for example, when I go to finish the install here, which I promised you I would do, let me just actually click next, finish through this. No, I don't want to use Windows Update. This is the default port, by the way, 6516. There, we'll just let that run behind the scenes. Where was I? Oh, the extensions. So the extensions come via feed, and then you just choose to install them, and then they just show up. Now, some of the extensions are intelligent. So, for example, the hardware ones, they will do some WMI queries on your machine to determine what type of machine you are. So if you're a Dell machine, it'll pop in the Dell panel on the left-hand side. If you're an HP machine, it'll pop in the HP stuff inside of there. But if you're not seeing it, it's because you haven't installed it yet. If you're not seeing Dell's version of this, it's probably because they haven't released it yet in full GA. It's in the Insiders build right now, and I actually just checked the release notes for the September version. How many of us are Dell customers in here? Many, many, many. Okay, so for you Dell customers, There was issues where the Dell extension was actually breaking Admin Center, so they pulled away some of that. And my understanding is that they're going to re-release probably in October. We've been waiting for Dell for a very long time. I know Lenovo's in there, and I think HP may not be quite finished yet either. So don't ask me why it's taken them 2 years to get into here, but it is what it is. And so if you're missing your Dell plugins, that's why you're missing your Dell plugins. You need to have the Insiders build. It's not in GA yet. Okay. All right, some of the extensions. This is what it looks like. So one of the vendors, Data On, has a custom view for Windows Admin Center. It goes beyond the BMC connectivity. So this is their hyper-converged appliance that they have. I just picked them because they were one of the first ones that came out to market with this. So it was easy for me to get some screenshots so I can say drive availability and things like that. So if you saw the hyper-converged view that Microsoft gave you, notice how you weren't seeing the drives? So I couldn't see like what drive bay slot was failing. I don't have the red light indicator to know what drive to pull. My problem is that I have remote hands at my data centers, right? So do you guys work with colos and you have to work with remote hands at your colos sometimes? Does anybody have a colo location that they have to deal with? So you have to sometimes call the remote hands, but you have to be very specific. Unplug this cable, pull this drive. That's what they'll do, right? Because they're not there to go through and fully troubleshoot that. So this type of stuff actually allows me to say, listen, third drive from the left down, I'm going to blink the light, pull that drive, right? That's the kind of stuff that we need. Here's Fujitsu's. So Fujitsu has an example of their server health. This was another one from Squared Up. The SDK. This was just building your own SDK stuff. And I have a few more freebie things for you. I told you about the feedback. This is the link. If you guys want the link for providing feedback to Microsoft for things that you want to add, it's just aka.ms/whack feedback. You'll have the PowerPoint deck. I'll give you the PowerPoint deck too. So. And let me just pull up a few more freebies. Do you guys want a few more freebies? Stand this up. I love freebies. Who likes the word? What's my favorite word in my presentations? Good. Everybody was paying attention. Okay. Okay, so you want to learn a little bit more about Windows Server. Microsoft has been doing these Windows Server summits. These are all members of the Microsoft product team. You might recognize some familiar faces inside of there. It's Ned Pyle, Jeff Woolsey. This is 100% free for you, all on Windows Server 2019. So if you want a skill ramp on this, it's all by the Microsoft product team. So you kind of hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So that's kind of cool. So it's freebie there. Give you guys a second if you want to take some pictures of that. I find that, interestingly enough, for me as an IT pro, there's so much of this that exists out there. That's why I put this into my slides, because I always take for granted that, oh, well, everybody just knows that there was a Windows Server Summit. Well, no, everybody actually doesn't know that there was a Windows Server Summit. There's a lot of us out there that have day jobs and are busy and can't just tune in to these things live. But these are all recorded, so you just watch them on demand. Okay. One more thing I wanted to talk about here, the last technical thing in my presentation. Who was moderately confused by the semi-annual channel release versus the long-term servicing release that Microsoft had? Just show of hands if you were confused by what was happening with Microsoft on that, okay? So I'm just going to make this really simple for everyone and just like set the record straight. If you're using on-prem servers, Server 2016, Server 2012, Server 2019, and you run things like Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, IIS, core infrastructure roles, the things that we manage on a daily basis, the LTSC release is the one for you, okay? This has become very clear through Microsoft's presentations now, but wasn't over the last few years. So LTSC is the one that you want. The semi-annual channel release is for Kubernetes and containers, Dockers. That's the semi-annual release. It gets released every 6 months. It refreshes itself. That is not for us as traditional IT pros. Why I tell you this is because in your volume licensing site, you can download both. Download the LTSC version of Server 2019. That's the version for us, okay? And then the insiders build is for your dev labs where you want to see all the new latest features coming out, not really for production. And there'll be new builds that drop for that like every couple weeks. Does that make sense? LTSC is what we want. All right, some feedback. Wait, I can't let you leave the room without giving you some more free stuff. Who likes this? Who wants some more free stuff? I gotta hear you though. All right. I run a YouTube channel, one of those other things that is impossibly hard to find on the internet. If you don't want to click that horrendously long link that I have right at the top, you can actually just search my name, Dave Kawula, on YouTube. You will find my channel. Inside of my channel, I have over 100 plus IT Pro videos, all from a half an hour to an hour long on a variety of technologies, 100% free for you guys. And that's available today. To date, some cool statistics over this. Over the last year or so, 20,000 views and 175,000 minute views watched. That's close to 3,000 hours watched from that channel. So your guys' gift, more stuff like this, okay? The next thing, if you guys are interested in learning more about Microsoft Azure Stack or Azure Stack HCI, we have a free community day coming up called Azure Stack and Azure Stack HCI Day. You just go to the community site that Crystal and I run, mvpdays.com, free registration. We've got speakers that are in from Microsoft, from Intel, community experts, stuff like that. Cool? Yeah? Well, sorry, I'll put that back just in case you were there. The next one is, I'm actually, good news for everyone in the room. I'm trying to become a Spice Head, so just good news. I have a blog that I run. We have over 550 IT Pro blog posts on there, and I'm going to try to syndicate some of that stuff into Spiceworks. I'm trying to work with Dana to figure out exactly how we can do that. My problem is I don't have time to double post everything, so I'm working on that. So for right now, checkyourlogs.net. We have 550 posts up there, all IT Pro stuff like this. And with that, guys, thank you very much for taking the time.